Welcome everyone to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia edition. Today we are going to be reviewing My Hero Academia Season 5, Episodes 4 through 8. And we have our My Hero enthusiast, Andrea. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you. We just finished watching Episodes 7 and 8, and we watched 5 and 6 last week. So we are here to give our every 4 episode review. And before we go into the episodes, how are you? You still liking Season 5?
Oh, very much. I very much like Season 5 so far. We're getting a lot of the training. We're getting to see those, underrepresented Class B characters as well as the, underrepresented Class A characters as well that we haven't really seen too much of. Shining moments for some, lackluster moments for others. But don't want to get into those details too much.
So last time we reviewed the episodes, it was 1 through 4. We had the first Class 1A versus 1B battle. And that one, the heavy emphasis was on Shinsho.
Yeah.
Shinsho, baby Eraserhead,
Yep.
because he's being trained by him on the low. So those 2 episodes were focused on him, and his team was able to pull it out. And from watching these 4 episodes we've watched, it seems like each episode is going to focus on a particular hero, it's looking like.
It kind of seems like kind of one student on each side more so than the other, and each battle it looks like is getting, like 2 episodes each. So you kind of see a main shine for a couple to start, and then you kind of move to the next group and the next group. But overall, I do feel like you kind of see more so the shining moments for one on each, team for Class 1A and Class B.
So we move into the second battles over here, and this second battle involves one of your favorite characters, Momo. I think she was more the captain of Team Class A in that one, and it's looking like she was going against her eternal rival, Kendo, on the side. If you watched My Hero Season 2 into 3, that they did the beauty, like the commercials at their little thing.
With their internship, yeah.
With their internship. So now they've been linked, and they even talked about it for a little bit, saying how ever since that commercial, those 2 have been linked. So it's kind of I personally would say it's a better 2021 version of a Sakura versus Ino at the Chunin exams. It's definitely a better version of that. Were you excited that Momo was?
Yes, I was very much ready for her to be on deck and like get her moment and us to be able to see her more in action. I definitely agree that she was more like the captain of the second team. It just kind of seems like anytime she's in, in the spotlight, kind of being part of the conversation, she is in a leadership role.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I remember, she was second on the class rep vote. It was Ida 1 and then her 2. Because during that training fight with her and Todoroki against Eraser, he told her that he voted for her. So she has very great leadership skills. She just doesn't sometimes take it all the way. So you have her team versus Kendo's team. They got 2 episodes. What did you like about those episodes from any particular characters, and what didn't you like from any of those characters?
So, for me, I didn't like the whole kind of Sakura-Ino matchup between Kendo and Momo, because I was really hoping it's not any sort of like negative, like they're fighting for a boy or anything like that. It's just more so that since they were linked and they keep getting compared to each other, I wish we could kind of have pivoted that moment to be like, we want to build each other up and make each other stronger, instead of like the attitude I kind of gathered from Kendo was more so like, it sounds like because Momo's in Class 1A, people tended to like favor Momo over Kendo in those conversations, like pitting them against each other. So she essentially is like, she doesn't hate Momo. She expresses like, you're great at what you do. I just want, to one up you. So she kind of has, the tallies in the back of her head that Momo's got one, now she wants one, which is healthy in a rivalry. It just also, I wish it didn't have to come from, the beauty commercial, and a lot of times it seems like when she was referenced in the previous season during the school festival, Kendo entered the beauty pageant, and somebody brought up like, well, Momo, why didn't you do it? And it's kind of part of the reason that they were linked is their level of attractiveness, and they keep kind of getting paid for that reason. I appreciate that Kendo's now trying to make it more towards like their merits as like heroes, as potential like pro heroes, but I kind of didn't like that too much. Also, just observing and skipping just a little bit ahead into, episodes 7 and 8, it seems like, from what I've noticed, is Class 1B has more of a killer instinct that we haven't seen from Class 1A, and I wonder if that's because they've been in life or death situations that they don't want to take it to that extreme during training, whereas Class 1B, as we talked about before, kind of has had a lot of, the traditional school experience, and they're going in for it like they've been taught to, and they know that they should do in real life situations, but they've never had that brought to them.
Yeah. I think, it's two things you said. When they were asking about the beauty pageant thing, I don't even know why she asked Momo why she didn't do it, if she was gonna, she thought she was gonna win, because nobody was beating the big three girl.
Right.
Like, it was her senior year. She's been coming second place every year. Like I don't know why you would even ask that. But on your killer instinct thing, I completely agree. And I also feel like, it's going to change when we preview who's next, because he's...
Baka goes up to bat, and we know all he is killer instinct.
Yeah, but I feel like because Class 1B they feel like they have more to prove. And they are taking it way more serious, which I don't even understand why some people in Class 1A feel like they're taking it slow. They don't have much to prove, because let's be honest, besides maybe 2 or 3 people from Class 1A, most of them haven't been relevant since the sports festival.
Right.
So shouldn't they have more to prove? Besides only 4 of them were mainly involved in season 4 in the overhaul, right? So wouldn't the others want to be like, okay, we have something to prove? But Class 1B right now is taking it super, super serious, and I enjoy that because it's pushing Class 1A. So when we talk about the Momo team versus the Kendo team, you also, I would say, we had a highlight from the first episode, Tokoyami.
Yep.
Dark Shadow, which is a very cool concept as a power. He had his shine, where we're seeing backstory, because now everyone in Class 1A is connected to some pro hero now, whatever.
It just seems like it. The ones that we're focusing on so far are connected to some hero, and Tokoyami even mentions that in the later episodes too.
The burden of a successor.
Right.
But so he interned at Hawks' agency in season 2 when we really didn't even know who he was.
Right.
And then now obviously he's the number 2 hero now, and Hawks is like, oh, we're birds of a feather. We gotta teach you some moves. And he taught Dark Shadow basically how to fly. So he gave a great trick.
Oh, it was so cool. It was, and getting into that backstory a little bit for Tokoyami was very interesting, because obviously the whole idea of birds of a feather flock together, but seeing Tokoyami's kind of internal struggle a little bit, doing his internship with Hawks and then doing his work study with Hawks, because you'll have to watch the episode for the reasons, but essentially Tokoyami was one to feel like I didn't do well enough the first round, and you were taking advantage of me on the low. Like
a real intern. Right. Get the coffee, do the faxing, copy the sheets, like a real intern.
So when he, when Hawks requested him back for the work study or offered it to him, he was just like, what am I here for except to do XYZ? And that frustration, prompted him to develop the skill of being able to use Dark Shadow to fly, which is a great thing.
Oh, I mean, Hawks said, people who have wings shouldn't be on the ground. And he was talking about speed beats power. And so it was more focused on him. And then he also had a rival in that matchup as well, who's, I guess you could say, he had another dark ability, which
a shadow ability.
Yeah, he can hide through anything that is a shadow, which is you can merge into anything that it's even better than that. Merge into anything that's dark colored, whether naturally dark or dark via external circumstances, such as shadows. So those two were going at it, and then you had the battle of the brains between Kendo and Momo. And Momo, I mean, she was showing some great things. I mean, you have to watch. She had a cannon, which is super cool.
It seems to be kind of her thing lately. Yeah. That, like, if she's up against the wall, she's making a cannon at some point.
That's her signature weapon there. And then you had the other people who were fighting between the teams. And, I mean, we thought that, because I know Momo is one of the people we previewed that needs to have a bigger season 5, because besides Uraraka, you could say that she's one of the main primary girls of the show. And unfortunately, I mean, you'll have to have it happen, but Momo's team lost.
Yeah, I don't want to say that she let me down. It was one of those things where I really feel like there could have been a better opportunity for her to figure out a different plan. Mm-hmm. My biggest thing that irked me is that, during the licensure exam, Momo literally outthinks somebody whose quirk is intelligence. Mm-hmm. But then you have her fight with Kendo, and Kendo is essentially like, oh, I know she's going to outsmart me, so I'm going to outsmart her, knowing that she's going to outsmart me. And I'm just, like, we just put Momo's intelligence and strategy, up on a pedestal just to yank it right back down. At least in my eyes. Not that she's dumb or anything like that. Kendo, I mean, obviously is showing that she's got prowess, is very much a leader, and has shown to be a leader since we saw her, kind of give, what's his face, I'm forgetting his name right now, the guy with the copy quirk, Monoma, the, smack to the base of the skull to shut him up. So she's always kind of been a more prominent figure in Class 1B.
Yeah, I think the first nickname they gave her was she was the mom of Class 1B. And like Kendo, it's crazy too, because like you said, she knew whatever she was going to plan, Momo was going to outsmart. So her plan was like, I already know what you're going to outsmart me, so let me try and think how you're going to outsmart me. And I mean, just her, we were talking about this in the next fight too, when it got up close, like Momo couldn't do anything close range, like against Kendo's fist. And like she was really just punching at the bit. And then we'd have to be remiss to talk about probably the MVP of that fight, of the quirk of the mushrooms, which is a very powerful quirk.
If you guys could only have visual to see how hard I rolled, that she was just, walking around putting mushrooms everywhere, and we're just like, what? At least for me, I can only speak for me. I was like, what are we doing? Like, what exactly is happening here? And then right at the last moment, we got TKO her, and that's only because that punch wasn't lethal, essentially. She pulled back just enough so that it didn't kill anybody, which is kind of scary. Yeah, Miss Kineko, she had the ability of the mushrooms where she was growing them on people. They were super poisonous. We also had Manga in there, who's his quirk comic, which is super cool. I mean, fourth wall breaking,
yeah. So like, boom, pam, pow, and that's what happens. So that was really cool. And like Kendo's big fist, and you'll have to watch to see what we're talking about. Obviously, Momo left the lucky bag complaining like infrared goggles and things like that, but it wasn't enough. Like once the mushrooms came, they lost. And I was shocked because I didn't know which team. I thought one team of Class 1As was going to lose, but I didn't think it'd be Momo's and Tori. Like, I felt like they had a good team.
Me too.
Like they felt like they were all pretty strong, and with Momo's leadership and just their quirks, but we underestimated.
They were strategizing. Like that's something we're going to talk about in the next fight. But like they out of the gate had a strategy, and so did Class 1B. Mm-hmm. And it seems like, I will say, just overall so far, and honestly into the next fight, I don't expect this to change my opinion. But so far, it seems like Class 1B very much hits strategy as more important than Class 1A, or at least there's been more very strategy-minded characters on Class 1.
Agreed. And then they lose, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, Momo and them just lost. Todoroki's like, hopefully this doesn't break her confidence, because her confidence is very shaky.
Yep.
And I mean, so then we go from them, who now the score is Class 1A 1, Class 1B 1, so it's 1-1. We go from your favorite girl to now your favorite boy, so now it's Todoroki's team.
Yes.
And Todoroki's stuff is like, they almost, not to make another connection to Naruto, but everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's Todoroki's. It's almost like with part 1 Sasuke, when everyone's just like, oh my gosh, like it's Sasuke Uchiha, this is going to be, like everyone's like, this is Shoto Todoroki, their team's going to easily like win. And then you had Todoroki, you had Ida, so you had 2 smart people on their team. They had Mr. Martial Arts Man himself, Ojiro, and then they had Mr. Octopus on their squad. So you looked at their team, you're like, okay, but Todoroki should carry them.
Right.
And then they go against Class 1B's team, where besides one person, I didn't know really much about any of the other 3. It was Tetsu, who's basically a fake steel version
of Kiroshima.
He's literally the steel version. Watch season 2, they fought at
the sports festival,
and Kiroshima beat him. So like he's basically a steel version of him, like same concept of his powers. You had Mudman, who I became a real fan of during this fight, and then you had the 2 people who actually were sometimes, weirdly enough, when you watch the episodes, speaking some English.
Yeah, Pony and Mudman spoke a little bit of English out of nowhere, and then there was also the kid, his quirk was Gyrate, and I believe his name is Kaibara.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, Kaibara. And then, before we go into this fight, just a little random humor. You had Endeavor stopping a crime, and you show him on his phone saying thanks to the help of his daughter. Him and his son Shoto Todoroki are basically Facebook friends on My Hero Academia, and Endeavor has been super hard in Shoto's DMs, and we couldn't see if they had a Japanese red underneath the text, but
I don't think so, because I'm assuming it's an Android, just because, again, it is,
But you can get the delivered and stuff if he's doing it on Facebook Messenger.
Oh, that's true.
So if we're just going to say it's on Facebook Messenger, and Shoto's basically leaving his dad on red, and his dad's like, Shoto, why don't you message me back?
I have this information to tell you. I want to teach you this thing and be a good dad. And then we get the flashback of him trying to teach him as a child, and you see that Shoto's literally bent over crying, looks like he's puked, and Endeavor is verbally, bashing him.
Yeah, and then he does the signature Shoto thing where he gets a little flame when he says Shoto, and then we
see his sidekicks, I think it is, are just like, oh, we know what's going on.
So then we actually go into the fight, and you have the 4-on-4, and now we're 1-1, and we were like, we didn't think, we thought like, oh, this is going to be a easy win because it's Shoto.
Right.
He's on the cover of the next movie with Bakugo and Midoriya. I mean, so obviously, if you're going to promote him as a big 3, you can't have him losing. And he hasn't been relevant in a long time, actually. And I know even in the movie Heroes Rising, we were just like, Shoto's getting job there. Which, ironically, he was on a team with Ida. Yeah, just ironically.
And with Ojiro.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, that's right.
They were all on the same team. With
oh, that makes me more mad.
That makes us more mad because they have continuity with each other. They just fought a big bad villain from Nine's team together. I know, mind blown. We just figured out as talking right now that we put 2 and 2 together. They're literally on the same team, and shame on the show for not mentioning that because the movies are canon. So that makes us more mad because when we talk about this result, it makes even more no sense because they've worked together. They have like finishing moves together.
They've been able to strategize, and that's one of my personal critiques for this fight, is essentially there was a move made by 1B, by a character, who's hard-headed, pun intended, and just kind of going for it. And so, Class 1A, the team, you've got Shoto and Ida, and they both are just like, well, they're going to bring it to us, let's bring it to them. And it's like, where the hell's the strategy? We got 2. We got the class pres and one of the smartest kids in class together. And now we add on that they've worked together before to bring down a very strong villain. And
one of the strongest in Shoto. And even talk about working together. Remember, Shoto and Ito work together against Stain. Like, these two have actually worked together a lot throughout the My Hero. Now look at that. Mind blow, fourth wall on the podcast. But when we talk about this fight, I mean, one of the standouts for us was Mudman. Like, we really didn't know who he was. His quirk's actually a very, it's a very convenient quirk that you can use in offense and defense. And he planned. And capturing. He planned. He knew what they were going to do first. Shoto's team did it first because Shoto's been in his tendencies of using ice first. And that episode, besides the Shoto stuff, kind of focused more on Ida.
Right.
Because Mudman trapped Ida real quick, and he's like, I already know your limit, so you're done. But then Ida had his conversation with his brother. If you've watched season 2, you know what Stain did to his brother, so he's basically retired now, and he's trying to carry the family legacy. He even has his brother's hero name now. So Ida went through some very extremes to get new powers. You're going to have to watch that and see what he did. It's pretty intense. So now he's super turbo fast, and he was doing his thing for that, but Mudman he couldn't take Mudman out. He was still able to adapt, and then you go more into the next episode, and you see Shoto fighting Tetsu, and when you say the names out loud, you're like, well, Tetsu lost to Kirishima back in season 2. Shoto's been deemed as one of the strongest people in Class 1A. So you think Shoto versus Tetsu, it's going to be a wash that Tetsu's going to lose. You're going to be very surprised because when you watch it, Tetsu was beating the heck out of Shoto. Like, you would never think that, but Tetsu, you have to watch to see his extreme training methods to get strong, because that's not cool. But how did you feel that your best girl lost, and now you're watching this, and your best boy is getting demolished by fake Kirishima?
I mean, it was not a good feeling, and it also didn't help that they were both essentially getting their butts handed to them in the same freaking manner. Like, now I'm wondering, do I have a preference for long-range fighters? Because apparently I can't pick people who can throw hands, because honestly, at this point, I'm wondering why the hell we're not having a basic, because obviously everyone, quirk training is very individual because everybody's quirk is different. But why are we not having basic hand-to-hand combat training? Or if they are, why the hell are they not any better at it than Class 1B, or at the same level as Class 1B? Because, especially for long-range fighters, that's a weakness. So why is that not identified and, built into their quirk training coursework?
I agree with that, because I think the last training we saw was season 3, when first they were in the forest, and they just did quirk-specific training.
Right.
And then you see them at the end of season 3, that's when Deku unveiled Shoot Style, where they were practicing ultimate moves. You never saw, them have
basic martial arts. We only see Uraraka do it because of her. Is it her internship?
That was season 2 internship, because it wasn't the work study. Because work study, she was with the top 10, the Dragon Lady.
That's right.
And then the other dude, I think, she was with a fighter guy. The only other person you really see. Obviously you see Midoriya train. He's the main character. But you don't really see basic hand to hand stuff. They talk about hero stuff, but it's if someone brings you in close or long distance to work on that. And Shoto starts the fight the same every time. He shoots a big thing of ice, hopes he freezes you, and then calls it a day. Which, against lower level people, is good, but if you've already seen it in your higher level...
Right. Plus, if you're able to strategize around it, that was something that this episode pointed out for me, was that he always starts out with ice. And I was like, ooh, I hadn't really paid close enough attention to that to know, because Mudman even makes a comment hey, if you would have been more cold-hearted and, had that killer instinct and started with fire instead of with ice, we would have been, SOL.
But now I don't know if I believe him. Because when he was fighting Ida, I thought Ida was actually going to beat him, because I was like, oh, Ida's about to get a crowning moment. But Mudman was able to sink himself into the ground. Wouldn't he have a backup plan that if he does use fire, just jump to the ground, because I've already muddied the place up? And he said, when they were jumping around, I've muddied the place up. But not Tetsu and Shoto, that was very interesting, because we were just watching it live, and we were just like, oh, this is...
If we could have had, at least on my face, I don't know about yours, because I was glued to that screen, but just
reaction cameras?
Yeah, because I was just in utter shock, because it makes sense, especially since yeah, he's kind of like rip off Kirishima. However, Kirishima just hardened. He actually turns his body into steel.
That's true.
So, like, it made sense to me that he would, be able to absorb or, like, it not affect him to a certain level. But at the same time, steel has to have a freezing and melting point. Yeah. So I'm just like, for me, the science nerd is coming out wanting to know how hot or how cold that needs to be and if, Todoroki is able to reach that.
Yeah, and Shoto got extremely desperate that then he was having flashbacks of the same training that his dad was having flashbacks. And then they showed his dad against the Nomu where you did the prominence burn, who everyone in the world loved, but except some people.
Yeah.
So and then he starts powering up and we're like, is he about to do prominence burn and like a training exercise? And the backstory too, from the previous episode, the teachers literally just said, keep the damage at a minimum. Oh. And they were not keeping Tetsu starts by punching the stuff. So they weren't doing that too. So he powers up. And like, while he's still powering up, Tetsu's still fighting him, which is like, Jesus. And then you have Mudman trying to come through. And then Shoto puts all the energy in one fist. We don't know what happens if you actually would have connected. But
oh, that was so beautiful. I was so ready for it.
But even after that, then Todoroki's about to lose. Ida comes and saves him. Mm-hmm. And then, like, they're still Mudman and all of that. And we even forgot to say that at the beginning of this fight, too, the tail quirk, Ojiro, he was getting his butt kicked, too. Like, Class 1A was getting stomped from each
matchup because it ended up being a one-on-one until Mudman kind of like realized, oh shoot, like I can't win against Ida, let me go help everybody else. I really felt like the only way they could have lost is if they went one-on-one, because outside of Shoto, I really feel like it did play out this way, that it seemed almost even. There were definitely some where there was a leg up or two. And if they would have switched up the one-on-ones, it would have been a different story, but they didn't go in there with a strong game plan and anticipating that, the other team also is able to plan, which irks me to no end. Like I said before, you had two big brains on that team.
Yes, you did.
And they just decided to say nah, and it's not. And that's the one thing is, like, with Bakugo, when he does that, we know it's because it's a pride thing. With Todoroki and Ida, it just seems like a momentary lapse in judgment for them to be dumb and not come up with a strategy and backup plan.
Well, Ida hasn't been written well in a little bit. He was supposed to be like, the signature anime group, like the 3-man team of friendship of Ida, Midoriya, and Uraraka. And like, ever since Stain, Ida has been...
Yeah, he's been...
Unless you count when he was part of the team that's like, F the rules, we're gonna go save Bakugo from the League of Villains. Him, Momo,
Kirishima,
Shoto, and Midoriya. So I guess, to be honest, for all the people we're just talking about, that was their last time they were relevant. Besides Kirishima, we know season 4, that's where he shined. But Momo, Ida, and Shoto, besides saving Bakugo, they have not been...
That just rubs salt in the wound. That irks.
And then I don't even know who we say the MVP of these two were, because was it Mudman, or was it, when you watched it, was it the girl with the horns?
It's Mudman, because without his setup and like ability, especially at the last second, for her to be able to swoop in and let the fight end how it ends. Also, she annoyed me. I couldn't quite... She basically had... Her quirk is horns, and so apparently she shoots horns off of her head. Her name is Pony. And she can control 4 of them at a time. So when I first heard that, and then later see her shooting like a barrage of them at Shoji, which is like, what's his name? Optical? That she's shooting a barrage at him, I was like, wait a minute, I thought she could only control 4. Well, that was my misunderstanding. She can control 4 at a time, but she can shoot a lot off, just like in a general direction,
like a semi-machine gun. Off her head,
essentially. And I would assume it kind of runs out like, or has the same side effect as your favorite, Minetta's balls on his head. That eventually, if she starts running out or like she reaches her limit, she's going to start bleeding from the head. We did not see that happen, but that misunderstanding kind of really bothered me when things started playing out.
I would say, too, with her situation, I mean, we were just talking about she could have done it differently in the end that you guys need to see, but the people, when the match over, is like, yeah, in a typical situation, I mean...
This is a valid option.
Yeah, and we were shocked because, you talked about the two big brains on Class 1A, but Class 1B was the one who outplayed them in every facet. Even when Ida, there was a point where Shoto was knocked the heck out, and Ida grabbed him, and Mudman was able to take them both out, and
last ditch. And at that point, again, we had the same thought watching that scene play out, beer. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But
4 people were down. Everyone was down. There was one person in each jail, and everyone was down. Except for the Horn Girl, who she makes her decision, and then that's the end of that.
And Octical, which watching it, I felt so bad having so little faith that he was going to be able to do anything. But at the same time, all we've ever seen him do successfully.
Well, he's a sensor type. He's a surveillance, and he can do close range. Last time we saw him, he got smoked by 9.
Right. Well, yeah, but he was just outclassed with that one. But I really, for somebody who's able to make multiple arms, and it seems like he's got connective tissue between some of those arms, why the hell can he not fly?
I thought you were going to say, why can't he extend his arms? Maybe that's the next...
He does. At one point, he does, super extend his arms.
I guess why he didn't even try it in the episode, when she was in the air.
Probably that's too high, but, I just felt so bad that I'm just he can't... I was watching the episode with you, and I'm like, he can't do anything. He... Really? And I felt so bad because I want more for his character. I want him to have his crowning moment. But the fact that we just, had that crucial moment could have been his. And spoiler alert, it's not.
So how do you... and the score's still tied. So take that for what it's worth and what you think that means what happened with Shoto's match. The score's still tied game. But how did you feel personally? Because those were your 2 favorite people, Shoto and Momo, back to back, and they did not. Momo performed better than Shoto, which is wild to think about. Momo's not on the cover of the next movie, so
I basically, for me, it's a little bit of an ego hit, especially for Shoto, because again, he is touted. He was brought in as a special recommendation. He should be at the top of the class. In theory, maybe he could have beat. I would argue he would have beaten Bakugo if he used
a flame.
At the sports festival, his ability puts him towards the top. His intelligence has him at the top.
I mean, when the school started, everyone had him at the top.
Right.
Everyone had him.
And so it just, with this, it reinforces the idea of his past trauma and adverse childhood experiences, and I don't want to say the holes in his training, because he had training forced on him that he was not ready for, that, very much scarred him in a way that is now impacting his ability to perform, because it very much, he even makes a comment that he didn't realize that he always starts with ice. It's literally in his body now that when he made that conscious choice, I'm not using my left side, I'm rejecting your quirk, I'm only going to use ice, that he still tends to lean towards using ice no matter what the situation. And so it's now becoming apparent to him that he has those holes and he's going to try to work to overcome it. But for me, it was slightly disappointing because, again, I hadn't noticed that. So I thought we had been able to move past that kind of issue with using the fire side. Not that he has an issue using it. It's just he's still pulling to the ice, whereas he shouldn't be. So that hurt my heart a little bit because I thought we were past all of that. But
yeah, he still has a lot to learn. And it was funny, too, when Shoto's team was up, I was almost going to bring up the suggestion, I thought almost Class 1. I thought they were going to lose one. I was shocked it was Momo's team because the way it was going. I thought they were going to sweep the rest, and I was going to be well, this would have been better if it was Class 1A versus the one school from the provisional exam that had Cammy,
so cool. Yeah.
Cammy and the Wind Dude. Yeah. So then you can have Wind Dude and Shoto after they've done some growing up. I thought that would have been better because I thought that would have been more competitive because you guys all go to the same school. You know each other's, they all know each other's abilities. They don't know how much they've each improved. So I was like, wouldn't it have been better to fight another top school who really doesn't know that much about you? But now Class 1B has proven me wrong on that before I even suggested that to you, because they are doing it, and we're just sitting here
doing it well.
And we're just like looking at the score sheet, and there's only 2 more teams left. And it's funny because previewing the next episode, and when we come back 4 episodes from now, the next one is Bakugo's team. Yep. And it's funny that everyone in here, we all just like, there's no way Bakugo's team is going to lose. Like, there's just no
That's
freaking...
what he stakes his hero reputation on, is not losing. Like, that's the most important thing for him, is that a hero does not lose. Mm-hmm. So he does not want to lose. Ironically, he's still, his verbiage is still very much, I'm going to kill you, which is weird, instead of saying, like, I'm going to beat you. But whatever, it's fine. Overkill doesn't actually hurt anybody, I guess.
Yeah, and I also think we also know we're already going to say, we know his team is not going to lose. Gosh, if his team loses, we might have to jump on a special episode, because we'll both be shocked. But it's the fact that he takes every fight serious. And even though he has that verbiage, he takes every opponent that he fights with respect and goes all out. Obviously, one of the best fights of the whole series with Uraraka. And no one's like, why would he take her? Like, he takes everyone serious. So he's going to take Class 1B serious. And obviously, he had the anime, rival thing, the previews, wait till you see what I got now. Deku, previewing that. So, yeah, I'm going to be interested, because his team does not look strong, but they have Bakugo. So, and he told Deku, which we didn't talk about a little bit, that Deku and All Might were talking about if he's had any one for all things, and then
kind of flare-ups where it activated accidentally. Plus, he had a new vision that All Might's I have no idea what you're talking about. My predecessor never said anything to me. This is weird. Let me call Gran. Let me talk to Gran Torino, and then I'm just sitting here don't you guys have cell phones? Why don't you just call him up? And
then Bakugo's like, what are you guys talking about? And he's like, I was told to hold the secret, and you guys are just talking in the public.
Right.
Even the people who left, who I guess a little tidbit, because then they were asking about Uraraka's like, oh, of course you know what's going on with Deku, the romance stuff. She's like, no. But All Might just casually asked for him, and then
pulls him off to the side, nothing suspicious, there's no favoritism or.
And then Bakugo asks, "Is there a problem with One for All?" And Deku tells him, and he's like, because Bakugo's a very smart person. You give him one thing, he can figure it all out, and he's just like, "I hope you're getting stronger, because I'm ready to go again." And Deku says, "I'm going, taking my time." And also because Deku, which will obviously have to be the last fight, he's the main character. He is going against Shinsho. So he was the first person to flare up the other people. So that's already foreshadowing that something's going to happen with the One for All, that something's going to happen. But I don't know, man. Class 1A they're slightly disappointing.
Yeah.
And especially coming off of season 4, where most of them didn't even fight. There was only 4 people who fought. And from that, and it's crazy too, when we talk about the teams, how there was 2 people from the season 4 who were on the team, Froppy and Kirishima, and then there's 2 people with Uraraka and Midoriya. And so I guess the 4 most experienced fighters now are separated, but I don't know. I'm excited to see what Bakugo goes, because he's also going against a dude who he does not like, and that guy doesn't like Bakugo. I don't know what to call him, the sadist of Class 1B, the talk dude, because he's the guy who's always talking, then Kendo hits him on the back.
Oh, no, he's going against Midoriya.
Oh, I thought, he was hyping the fight up because they had the snake girl.
The snake girl.
Yeah, he was the hype.
Togake?
Yeah.
Togake.
He was the hype man. Okay, I thought he was on the team, because I know Bakugo
No, he was just extra hyping that one up, and of course, Kendo just, had to, again, karate chop, face of the skull.
That's going to be wild. We're going to have to wait and see on that. Andrew, anything else about these episodes that stuck out? We were this day years old when we really just put together how they had the same team in the movie and they still couldn't get a gun. That is just still mind blowing, and we're definitely going to talk about that after we're done recording. But anything else?
Like you said, I'm still really in shock from that, because that really just gets my goat on that one, because and then you add in that, he and Ida
fought together against Stain.
It's fine. We're fine. they're going to learn and grow from this, which is, the entire point, because it is a training exercise. But damn, like, I wanted 1B to show us what they were made of, and they're
doing it. They sat down, played your podcast in class, and they were like,
let's get it together,
this
guys.
girl said that we need to show up, and we're going to do it.
God, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Maybe you shouldn't, because, I mean, they're beating your favorite people. So,
rude.
I'm just saying. And also the thing that was talked about, how successors and everyone had, like, their pictures of who they're trying to succeed. So, that was that. But, no, anything else?
I don't think so. I'm just very excited to see these last two fights.
Well, it's the main characters' time, Bakugo and Midoriya. So, and I will say this now. Uraraka better not be the first person put in jail.
I know. Oh my god.
Because if she goes some girly girl, I'm worried about Deku because I love him and I can't tell him, and she's the first casualty, we're going to have a problem. I would be willing to put money down that that's not what's going to happen. She might get put down first, but I don't think that would be the reason why. I also hope that doesn't happen because her quirk is gonna be, very useful for getting the other team in jail because she can just float them into the frickin' jail. But I'm really hoping that doesn't happen because that would I feel like that would degrade her character that much further, especially after she had such a shining pinnacle moment in her fight against Bakugo. That it was like, you guys. That's almost 3 seasons. That is 3 seasons ago.
But it's still so iconic.
Oh,
and
it
so prevalent. It's I want to see the her that we saw in that fight with Bakugo, that determination, that level of, you guys are underestimating me. I can do this on my own. She pushed aside Deku's help because he was like, I have a strategy that, could win. We never got to hear what that strategy was.
I don't even think it could win because obviously when they fought one-on-one, that strategy didn't work. So, and Deku was stronger in the one-on-one fight than he was back then, and he did.
Right. I really wish, personally, that her feelings for Deku, because it was kind of clear that it was going to happen, just would have developed later, or she had more resolve to just kind of put that away earlier on, instead of kind of playing this weird, no, I don't like him, yes, I like him, no, I don't, like that. I feel like that was not necessary at this time. We're
going to see. She is going to, so far, each fight has had 2 episodes. I almost said, since this is Bakugo and we know victory is assured 99.9, he might finish it in an episode and a half. Like, they might start Deku's episode in the middle of Bakugo's.
I mean, they might, honestly, because I do feel like Deku's fight is going to be more than 2 episodes. I mean, it's a rematch from the sports festival. You have the love interest on the team. Plus, you also have Monoma, because here's my theory. Something I feel like could happen, because part of what we're all like looking at is that we're worried that Shinsho's quirk is going to, impact Midoriya's one for all. Monoma can copy quirks. I'm wondering whose quirks he's gonna copy, because if he copies Shinsho's, then he could activate Midoriya's quirk, as well as if he's able to touch Midoriya, he could copy Midoriya's quirk. And if so, I'm like, holy crap, could that really mess up Monoma? Because, I mean, obviously Deku's not built for that quirk, and then somebody who's never wielded it, is he going to be able to handle that? Because, like, that could be, I feel like, somewhat exposing, because if Monoma is able to copy that quirk, he might also be able to see that there are multiple, vestiges and, in theory, quirks inside of Deku.
I don't know if he'd be able to copy it, just for the fact that that's the one quirk All For One can't take. So if All For One can't take it, I can't just see some scrub being able to copy it. And I also feel like with like Shinsho at the fight, if he touches him and tries to copy the 7, well, I guess 6, because 1's still alive, would be like, yeah, not for you. Back up. I mean, Deku literally transferred his quirk to Bakugo in the movie, and they're like, nah, we're going to stay with this guy.
See, I just wonder if it was that or the legit... I just wonder how much plot armor that reason that All Might said of that, like, oh, he passed out before it could fully transfer is like...
I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see, but we are excited for Bakugo's fight. And with all that being said, thank you everyone for listening to L7C Podcast. Thank you, Andrea, for giving those great reviews on episode 4 through 8. I am sorry that your top 2 did not fare well as we anticipated, but that means we'll be talking about that for weeks on how they could have done better and going forward. And hopefully, I mean, it's about to be Bakugo and Deku's show. Here we go again. So we feel like we know Bakugo's going to win. Midoriya's team, you never know, because Midoriya sometimes will lose for a teaching moment, and he might pull the lose.
He almost always loses for a teaching moment.
That is true, unless it's a villain. But
that's so true.
But we're gonna have to wait and see. Hopefully, I mean, for a couple weeks from now, we'll be in June-ish.
Yep.
I'm kind of hoping for another movie trailer.
Oh yes.
I'm kind of hoping for another movie trailer. I still that picture. I want to know why Deku's a wanted man for mass murder. Like, I want another movie trailer because obviously that movie is coming out in August in Japan, and if the Japan anime movies going forward are the same caliber and tier as the Demon Slayer movie, we are going to be in for a treat on the My Hero movie.
For sure.
Hopefully. The two have been really good, but I'm really hoping now with that preview, this one tops the other two. But with that being said, again, thank you everyone for listening to L7C Podcast. You guys take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C Podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.